It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
My name is Ron Livingston. This is my first kind of personal bio that I'm putting together, kind of like a video tribute to someone in the family who has passed away. It's my first experimental one. I'm actually in my computer room, so I don't have any, quiet room, any sound rooms or anything like that. So you're going to hear a lot of external noise from the family who's in the house. So why I decided to do this was really simple. A lot of times we have loved ones that we lose and we love and we miss. And to me, one of the great things to have that you can never replace is actual live video footage. Them talking, them moving, laughing. And unlike pictures, which are kind of still moments, they bring back great memories. But video is a great tool to kind of pass down to your kids, grandkids, kind of like a family heirloom, so that other people can kind of see who that individual was, get an idea what their voice sounded like. So just to give you a little bit about who Roy Fryson was to me. He was a kind, big-hearted individual. Truly loved the dude. He was, always giving, always sharing. I miss his spirit. The spirit that was Roy Fryson. I know his spirit has moved on to a higher level, a different place. But while he was here, I definitely appreciate him. I certainly miss him. I'm quite sure the people who are watching this video miss him. And those who are watching this video who don't know him, or didn't know him, I'm quite sure you get a sense of who he was just from some of the videos. Family guy, always put family first, always put others first. He's the type of guy who called you in the middle of the night just to check up on you. As a matter of fact, I always, you always have, myself included, you always have those situations where you want to call somebody, relative, and they've been on your mind, and you want to call them, but something happens or something comes up, and you don't get the chance to call them, and you kind of miss that opportunity. And Roy was the person who capitalized on that opportunity. He would actually call. If he was on his mind, he'd call you right away, and that's something that is not innate, in terms of every individual doesn't have that, so that's what made him special. And for me personally, that was important because I had lost my dad, and just to step back a little, Roy is my stepdad, but I lost my my biological dad, and it was a tough time, in my life to lose, my dad, and I still remember, but don't really remember. There was never a time Roy said, to me, Ron Jr., I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to, try to replace your dad. He never did any of that stuff. He was just himself. He just was involved more. He would call a little bit more. He would, show up to events, offer suggestions, find out, things was going on in my life. I had a lot of decisions that I was making in regards to work, in regards to where I was going to live, in terms of buying a home, and he basically was there giving advice every step of the way. And it was kind of like I never had to ask, he never had to say anything, he just did it. So for me, that's kind of like who he was to me. Someone who just did it. He was just there. Roy was a great individual. He would, we moved, sold our house in Irvington. We was looking for a place because the next house hadn't closed yet. He volunteered, him and my mother volunteered their home for us to stay. That's just the type of individuals that he was. I can still remember many of his stories, man. I still remember when we bought this house, we hadn't even purchased the house yet. As a matter of fact, we canceled the deal. And we was thinking about going back into the deal. So I took Roy by the house because, like, again, he was helping me decision making. So we drove, parked into the house, parked into the driveway, and I'm like, well, we can't really, stay here this long because the owner might come and he might see us in this driveway. So it took us like 5 minutes. We walked around the house. He was like, oh, that's nice, but it needs a lot of work. So if you're gonna, get this type of house, you gotta be prepared to put a lot of work into it. And I'm like, yeah, we definitely understand. That's why we're trying to get it for a low price, blah, blah, blah. So we go sit in the car and we get ready to pull out and the car don't start. So I'm like, what's wrong? He said, the car's not starting. So I'm like, okay. So he goes, he looks under the hood for a quick second. He said, start the car. I tried starting the car and it didn't cut on. He's like, oh my God, I don't know. The battery died. The alternator, we didn't know what it was. He's like, oh man, I left my phone at home. Can you call your mother? I was like, what? I left my phone at home. So here we are, sitting in the driveway. Car don't work of a house we're not supposed to be in. His phone is at the house. I left my phone at the house because we ran out, supposed to be quick. And who strolls around the corner in their car but the owner? Pulls up right next to us. It had to be one of the funniest moments. I'm sitting there looking at the guy, and he's like, what's going on? Hilarious, man. You had to be there for that day. Yeah, but we had a lot of good times, in the days leading up to his death. It was tough, and I felt, it was not only tough for me, my personal family, but, obviously my mother, the kids, they've taken in my younger brother's kids, and they had, raised them, so now they was losing basically a dad, because he helped raise those kids. LeSean, he helped raise LeSean. Once again, it just goes to show you, the type of individual he was. Here he is, with his own grown kids who are already out the house, taking on the responsibility of someone else's kids that, he doesn't have to do. That's a personal choice. He doesn't have to do that. And he tried to give those guys, did give those guys, a great family environment, love, support.
Stays on my mind. The love we had. The love we had stays on my mind. And pretty girl, I've been remembering the good times that we used to share. My thoughts of you don't have an ending, and memories of you are everywhere. But why should I tell you? It's not your concern. You win some, you lose some. I lost and I. It's just that I'm so lonely with no place to turn. And here at the end, the love we had stays on my mind. Girl, if you were nearer, if you had a mirror, maybe you could count my tears. And if you were nearer, it would all be clearer. How I wish that you were here. How I wish that you were here. How I wish that you were here.
So yeah, I remember when I received the call. It was early in the morning, maybe about 5:30 in the morning, and I'm always alarmed when I receive a call that early from a family member, and that comes, stems back to when I was a kid. My aunt, Valerie passed away, and that call came about 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. And I still remember my bedroom was right next to my mother's, and I remember she got the call, and it was one of the old phones, wasn't cell phone, just a regular phone back then. And I remember she got the call. I woke up, was still laying down, towards bed, but I can hear her saying, Vera, what's wrong, and then she started crying, so those calls that early in the morning always, put me on a little bit higher alert. And the day I got the call about Roy was no different. I got the call. It came, the number on my cell phone was my mother's number. So, when I immediately picked up, I said, okay, hey mommy, is everything all right? And it was my Aunt Nez, so once I heard my Aunt Nez's voice, I automatically knew that there was a problem. So I said to her, I said, was everything all right? She was like, no, it's Roy, and I'm like, what happened? She's like, he had a heart attack. The hospital, man, I tell you, I learned a lot. The first thing I learned is, my wife don't like me saying this, but, I think I'm going to have a list of people who come to the hospital in any event that I'm in the hospital. I appreciate sending your love and prayers, but, all the people that was in the hospital, honestly, it was a little too much, It was a lot. There was a lot of decisions that had to be made. And anybody who's been in that situation where loved ones had a heart attack and they lost oxygen to the brain, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because at this point, they want to take him off the respirator. The decisions got to be made. You got people, who say he's dead on Facebook. He was still alive. So it was just a lot of, miscommunication, and honestly a lot of positive but negative vibes. And let me just say, positive but negative vibes, meaning that there was people who wanted to be positive, they just didn't know how, because it was a sad moment, because we obviously knew this was bleak, and when something looks bleak, it's very easy to get emotionally overwhelmed. And that emotional usually comes from a sad place, which is a negative type vibration. So it was a lot of that, and, you had to try to maintain strength and be strong and see if he was going to pull out of this, So it was tough, being in a hospital scene. I could hear Roy's mother saying, he's drooling, and trying to cough. And, so I look up, I see Timmy, his brother, and says, okay, he calls for the nurse to watch, to get the drool. And as he's calling for her, saying he's drooling, but he's choking, nurse. And so he goes to get the nurse. And while he's out there going to get the nurse, Rory is actually choking, choking off a phlegm. And just to give you an idea, from my perspective, I kind of felt like if you ever had a cold and you have a lot of phlegm in your chest area, and just imagine, closing your nose and, trying to get the phlegm out. Very difficult. You'd be alive and walking around, that's hard to do. So he was unconscious, limited, supposed brain activity, and, so he couldn't get the phlegm out. So he ended up choking to death. So the doctors will always say in this report that, he died because of a heart attack and brain damage and ever. I think that's bullcrap. I think Roy died because he choked to death. And I think that's the one thing that doctors failed to leave out, that was a possibility. And I kind of felt like they kind of misled us a little bit with that one, but that's neither here or there at this point. But yeah, he choked to death. I kind of felt like, with that choking, his spirit never really got a fair chance, because he was fighting, but that was a tough moment. Okay, so I don't want to continue to talk about those days, but there's a lot of good days, man. We just had so much fun. We had so many new stories, and honestly, since his death, it's been a long road, but it's like, you walk into a house, you lived in a house for 15 years or 20 years, and there's a big picture, right by the entranceway, right in the walkway as soon as you walk through the house, right? So, when Roy passed away, he's like that picture, so the house is still there. You still walk into the house, but the picture is gone. So after 20, 25 years, the picture is gone. So every time you walk into the house, you kind of feel like there's something missing, like this empty space, and I think that's how it's always going to be. We can try to put another picture there, we can put different paintings, and we can do what we want, but at the end of the day, that new picture will still take time to get used to. So Roy was like that painting that's been there, that you always liked for about 20, 25 years, so he's always going to be missed. So every September, Roy has these bus rides for his birthday, and he's always looking for music to play on the bus rides, and he wants good songs, this song, that song. He says, man, I'm going to this DJ and that DJ, and I keep asking for this and for that, and he's like, can you make me a CD? And every year it's like, Roy, I can make you a CD, but it's hard to make you a CD because I don't know what music you want. I got an idea what you like, but tell me what songs. And every year it always gets to September, and we always forget to connect with those songs. So what I want to do is I want to put together a list of songs I think he would like, and that's how we're going to close this out. We're going to close this out with a Atlantic City bus ride. One last bus ride, one last, one for the road for celebrating 2-year, well, not a celebration, but, honoring, the fact that he's been gone for 2 years. We're going to do one more AC trip. You guys who've been on this AC trip, you know how Roy rolls, and, so we're gonna look to, if you know the songs, sing along with the songs. We're gonna have a little bit of fun.
You want to do it again, huh? Yeah, let's go on back. Gotta take you
Rock steady, baby, that's what I feel now. Let's call the song exactly what it is. to keep him strong, moving in the right direction, living just enough for the city. His father works some days for 14 hours, and you can bet he barely makes $1. His mother goes to scrub the floors for me, and you best believe she hardly gets
I'm so in love with you. Whatever you want to do is alright with me. 'Cause you make me feel so brand new. I want to spend my life with you. Me say, sing, baby, since we've been together, ooh, loving you forever.
I'm gonna walk away from love. Gonna walk away, gonna walk away. I'm gonna walk away from love. Gonna walk away, gonna walk away. Gonna walk away, gonna walk away.
It's not that I don't love you. You know how much I do. And it's not that I found someone to take the place of you. It's just a fear that builds within me every time you touch my hand.
Aquarius, and my name is Ralph. Now I like a woman who loves her freedom, and I like a woman who can hold her own. And if you fit that description, baby, come with me. Take my hand, come with me, baby, to love land. Let me show you how sweet it could be, sharing love here with me. I want you to float, float on. Come on, come on, come on.
One day, child, I won't have to listen to your lie. On that day, I'll be able to make up my own mind. You know, I think I done finally realized, yes, I have. And now I think I can put you out of my life. I'm gonna be free, yes, I am. Oh, Lord. I'm gonna be free, child. I'm gonna be free.
I know a place. Ain't nobody crying. Ain't nobody worried.
was a boy and girl. Boy said, I love you so. Girl said, I never leave you. They grew older and left each other, 'cause that's the way love goes. That's the way love goes.
Then there's a time, seems like you'll never find someone willing to love you. Keep on looking, you'll soon discover.
You called and told me that you wanted to leave, but it seems that you don't want to leave me. Listen, we were so happy together when we first met. Oh. But you started acting crazy. Oh baby, what's happening? Oh my love. Sexy baby, good loving daddy. Ooh, let me be your rocking chair. Just rock me way from here. Let's get it on. Come to me, baby. Ooh, let me be your rocking chair. Just rock me way from here.